Recording.
Okay, trimming your lidded jars. Okay, now we've got our lidded jar demonstration. What we need to do is we need to trim both the jar and the lid itself. And as you remember, here we threw the jar and it looks like this, fairly small little jar. We can add handles to it later. It's leather hard, and here we have the lid. It looks similar to this. I did a little cross section for you so you kind of have a little idea of what's really going on here for you visual learners, which all art people are. Now you can see that the foot, the ringlet on the foot, this is the body form, basically the same pot form, and this is what your lid is going to look like as it sits in there. So that's how we're going to put this thing together. It's going to look like that when we're done. First of all, we're going to trim the jar portion. So we're going to get it in here, get it centered. Pretty close, there we go. A little wobbly, not too bad. Just see if I can readjust that just a little more. There we go. So we're going to come in here and we're going to trim this. And you know, guess what? We don't trim it any different than we've done anything else. Okay, get that pot to tell us what it's going to look like. Just like that. Trim it down. And I can see this is just a little bit on the wet side. See how this balls up a little bit like that? That means it's on the wet side. So guess what we can do real quick? And it's only going to take a second. 30 seconds at the most. We're going to go ahead and trim that. Dry it down a little bit. You can actually trim and do this at the same time. It's a little hard to talk over it, but you can see what happens. We're going to get that a little bit harder, a little more stiff. Don't leave your fingers in there. I got it on hot, so it gets pretty warm. But we don't want it to get too dry either, so otherwise we can't trim in there. So now we're going to do that little foot. Foot's going to come in right about there. And if this persists, you've got thick clay and it's still real wet, you can go back and hit it again with the hairdryer. It doesn't take very much time. And it sure beats sitting around waiting for it to happen. I guess we could watch the Oprah show or something while it's going on. Or we can watch videos or whatever. We generally try to watch Ghosts at least once a year to find out if Demi Moore really knows how to throw or not. She may have learned by now, but I know she didn't. Somebody threw the blanks for her. Okay, so there we go. We're going to come in here. Make that little ringlet, just like we've had done with all the rest of our pots. Oops, get that out of the road. It doesn't take very long to get that done. Always come back and burnish the bottom. In other words, when I say burnishing, I mean basically what we're doing is we're compressing those clay platelets together. We'll talk about histories of clay and stuff later on. Okay, there we go. So our pot's kind of put together there. We'll add a handle to it later when we come to handles. When I start doing handles, I'll do a handle on our lidded jar also. So we know then that what we've got to do next is we have to do something with this lid, and obviously it doesn't work right. So what we're going to do is we flip this over, and we're going to come in here, and we're going to put our pot this way. Like that. There we go. I'm going to tighten it on there a little bit. And then we're going to take some paper. And I'll tear off some little strips of paper. And I found over the years what is really nice is to put some paper in here, because sometimes if it's a little bit too moist or we get a little bit of clay mixed between of the trimmings in here, we can't get our lid back out. And then you always try pulling on it and you break it. So what we're going to do is we're going to put, about 3 will be just fine. We're going to take our lid and we're going to turn it upside down. And if you measured right with your calipers, it should fit in there just like that. If you didn't, you've got to put it down on the wheel head itself and trim these outside areas a little bit, or trim this out a little more, depending on which one you have more clay of, to make them fit. Luckily, we did a good job with our calipers. Remember the calipers that showed us the inside and outside structures of the pots. Okay, so we've got it sitting on there. It sits right in there, pretty nice. Now all we got to do is bring this in. So we're going to just sit in here, kind of ignore these pieces of paper. lightly hold down on here, and we're going to start trimming away, a little bit at a time. Don't get too carried away trimming. You want to do it real gently. You might knock that lid back out of there. Now, if you're not comfortable with that trimming tool, you can always use one of these. These are a little smaller. Lots of times, sometimes I'll hog things out. I call it hogging them out with these little sharper tools for things like this. And what we're doing is we're lightening up this thing. We want to leave a little bit of weight down there so the lid doesn't fall off. It's got a little weight when it sits down. When we look at this thing, you can see that when we look at this lid, we've got this weight down here that helps hold it down. Okay, holds it right in there. Not only does it this area here hold it, but this weight in here, where the lid bit, top of your lid is. And we're going to come in here and we're going to make sure we have that carved down a little bit. Might flip over to the other side of this. You don't need a real heavy lid, but you just want to make sure you get it trimmed pretty good. And make a nice curve to it. Now I'm going to go back to using this tool because it's my favorite. I generally just use this one. Remember, I'm still doing an isometric exercise here. I'm pushing one muscle against another so that I have good control of what's going on in here. Notice where my shoulders are. They're right over top the working surface, and I'm in close to my body pretty much with most of the time. Okay, we're going to stop that, undo it here, and then we're just going to lift it up and see if we can pop this thing out of there. There we go. Popped it loose. We can either leave them in there if we want to. Get rid of those little crumbs there. And it fits right in there. Okay, the next thing we're going to do is I'm going to go ahead and wrap it up in a plastic bag so that I can put some handles on it later. And we'll be doing that in some future demos that are coming up.